deal with airplane peanuts.
So this movie on Netflix is called Old Dads. It's just not that interesting of a narrative overall.
There's definitely going to be some people that will be ticked off by watching this.
He kind of looks at what's the norm now and is like, I'm gonna poke buttons.
It's an acknowledgement that the world is changing. This is something that I think people go through with every generation.
The reviews on Bill Burr's new Netflix movie, Old Dads, are very bizarre. On one hand, you have people claiming it's the best movie they've seen in 15 years, while at the same time, there's critics calling it an unfunny assault. In fact, when you look up Bill Burr's new movie on Rotten Tomatoes, things only get more unclear. The movie boasts an impressive 90% audience rating from people who have seen the film. Yet the movie critics on Rotten Tomatoes have made it known they did not appreciate Bill Burr's directorial debut, and even going as far to call it, quote, a boorish and obnoxiously vulgar comedy that, since it can't claim any other great distinction, might as well have been expressively written to break the all-time record for using the F word in a major studio movie. So how is it possible for these two scores to be on such polar opposite ends of the spectrum? Do these scores even matter? And if so, which one matters more?
You a doctor or you just like one of those WebMD guys?
For those of you unfamiliar with the concept of this movie, Old Dads was released in theaters October 13th before moving to Netflix 1 week later. Described as Bill Burr's stand-up in movie form, this film is a story of three childhood best friends who became fathers later in life and find themselves battling preschool principals, millennial CEOs, and anything created after 1987. Basically, it's loosely based on Bill Burr's own life experiences of becoming a father at age 49 and having to raise his children in a very different world than the one he grew up in.
I didn't realize like how much the world had changed. Like my daughter's in kindergarten now, and I was in kindergarten 50 years ago. So just the whole way that they teach, like everything, literally, I'd be like, oh, you on the jungle gym? And she'd be like, it's called the structure. and then I'd be like, yeah. And then I'd be like, oh my God, I said jungle. Am I, was that borderline racist now? Like, what did I just say? And you just start freaking out.
Bill Burr has successfully touched on this concept of growing up and how the world has changed many times on stage, as well as in his animated series, F is for Family. But for some reason, none of those projects drew nearly the same amount of scrutiny from critics as Old Dads. Yet, as we just saw, the audience rating is still fantastic. So if you're a neutral person with no preconceived notion of Bill Burr, trying to decide if you should watch this movie, which rating are you supposed to believe? The first thing to consider is that the audience rating is made up of over 500 people who saw the movie and chose to leave a review, while the tomato meter score comes from the minds of just 32 paid critics. Obviously, these reviewers are not doing a great job truly gauging how the masses feel, especially when you look at the reasons they give for not liking this film. Almost all of their comments come off anti-comedy and slightly political, but if you really want to prove how out of touch these reviewers are, just go back to the quote we shared at the beginning of this video from one of Rotten Tomatoes' top critics, Todd McCarthy, who called the film boorish and vulgar because of the frequent use of the F word, as if any Bill Burr fan would be turned away by profanity. And if you need any more proof that these ratings are more personal than professional, Todd McCarthy went on to say, quote, it's not clear how they pulled it off, but some of these guys have attractive wives who put up with them for some reason. Burr knows how to write popular stuff for popular-seeking viewers. The more foolishly and irresponsibly his miscreants behave, the more the audience seems to get off on material that would appear to hit home with everyday audiences. Basically, they want to be Peter Pans who also get laid. I have no idea why he started talking about their real-life wives, but the fact that movie critics like Todd McCarthy's opinions barely matter to anyone nowadays is part of the beauty of comedians becoming so connected with their own audiences. Just take Tom Segura and Burt Kreischer, for example. They've been pitching a funny movie idea for years now called Fat Astronauts. If Fat Astronauts ever does get made, it's almost guaranteed the audience score will be somewhere in the high 90s from huge fans who really enjoyed the project, while the critics would probably clock it around 1% and complain about body positivity in outer space.
Houston to Space Shuttle 2. Is Tom there? Yeah, this is Tom. We're getting a reading that there's cum everywhere.
Yeah, I've been jacking off a lot. Sorry, I didn't know where to put it.
I've been blowing it into the walls.
We're sending porn stars up to help you out.
In all reality, Old Dads is probably not a 90%, but it's definitely not a 17% either. The people of Earth have widely different interests and senses of humor, and the only opinion that really should matter when it comes to if a movie is good or not is your own. So if you haven't yet, go watch Old Dads on Netflix, after you finish this video, of course. Guest spots from last week: The Joe Rogan Experience had a fight companion and Hassan Ahmad. Two Bears One Cave was Tom and Sam Morril. Kill Tony this week was Cam Patterson and David Jolly. Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast had a fireside chat. Are You Garbage had on Heather McMahon. The Honeydew talked with Tommy Buns. Keenan Thompson was a guest on Whiskey Ginger. Flagrant had Akash sit down with Stiff Socks. YMH talked with Girls Gotta Eat. David Lucas was on First Date. And Bobby Lee went on Chrissy Chaos.
To me, it's difficult because, you know, when I'm on the road, you know, when you have a house full of kids, you know, you can't masturbate. Like, you can't. I can't have little kids, little girls running around. And it's almost impossible. I can't go in the shower. I can't do it. So when I'm here, like staying at a friend's house or in a hotel, I masturbate. I jerk off all the time. And
when porn or your imagination?
ESPN.
Oh,
yeah. This
like
time,
Sports Center.
Yeah, I was just jerking off to the U.S. Open.
When you're watching MSNBC, are you thinking about Ari Melber or Rachel Maddow?
When I'm thinking about, I'll go back to when I was like in my late teens, early 20s, when I had sex with this 53-year-old woman named Barbara, and it was like she wasn't even that hot. And
how do you know she's 53?
She told me she was 53. She was
you
one
check
of my
her ID?
She was one of my mom's friends.
Oh, you know that?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
And so I had sex with her, and I think about that time.
How old were you again?
I was 19.
And she was 53?
She was 53. She had a tattoo.
No condom?
No, I'll never forget. She had a tattoo of the Costa Rican flag on her back. I said, I thought you were a white woman. She goes, I am. I just love Costa Rica.
This past weekend with Theo Von spoke with a New York City garbage man. The Tim Dillon Show welcomed Mike Cannon and Mike Feeney. Adam Ray was on Tiger Belly this week. The Blocks Podcast had on Brian Regan. Anthony Bowens was on Hey Babe. We Might Be Drunk had Todd Barry on the show. Nikki Glazer was a guest on Take Your Shoes Off. Being Ian with Jordan welcomed Jamie Morgan. Allie McCosfie visited Stavi's World. We interviewed Brian Simpson here on Joke World. Neil deGrasse Tyson got on Steve-O's Wild Ride. And You Know What Dude posted their Skankfest episode featuring Mark Norman, Joe DeRosa, and Tommy Pope. As far as new stand-up specials that are either out right now or coming out soon, Louis Katz, the best comedian you've never heard of, is a hilarious 52 minutes of stand-up comedy over on Louis' YouTube channel that you have to go check out if you haven't seen it yet. Pete Holmes' I'm Not For Everyone premiered last week on Netflix. We also had Noel Miller upload his debut stand-up special to his YouTube channel. And Doug Key, Mother of the Year, is out right now on Mark Norman's YouTube channel. And a few specials in the works that will be coming out soon. Trevor Wallace is set to release his debut stand-up special on Prime Video November 14th, titled Pterodactyl, which has a lot of comedy fans buzzing with anticipation. It was also revealed that Dave Chappelle just got done filming his latest special last weekend. We'll be sure to keep you updated on more information regarding that project, only if you hit subscribe right now. Other than that, we posted a very insightful interview with Brian Simpson last week about being the first comedian to film a special at the Comedy Mothership. You can find that video on the end screen right after this, literally 2 seconds from now. Thank you so much for watching.
At Joke World. That's did it. At Joke World.
And the world is WRLD.
That's a great YouTube channel, Joke World. Check it out.